The Irish Independent Business Podcast, in association with Vodafone. Make your business ready with a total communication solution from Vodafone.
Hello, I'm Brian Purcell, and this is the Irish Independent's Ready Business Podcast. It's the show for startups and SMEs looking for some inspiration, great advice from real-life entrepreneurs. We're giving the practical stuff out here. And on today's show, first we're asking, what is the use of social media for Irish SMEs? And I have two gurus with me. I have Adrian Weckler. Adrian is the technology editor for Independent News and Media. And I've Conor Lynch from Connected.ie. Gents, you're very welcome. And Adrian, coming first to you, I've seen some amazing stats here. 38% of Irish SMEs don't have any social media presence at all. And actually over 50% in Cork, I don't know what's happening down there or down south, don't have any social media. So I'm taking it that maybe around the country and, you know, outside the Pale, it's probably in excess of 60%.
Yeah, there's something a bit odd going on about Cork. I mean, I'll get to the main point in a second, but something weird going on with Cork. I remember looking at the venture capital stats for 2015, and for some reason, Cork grossly underperforms compared to other cities in the country when it comes to tech startups and when it comes to a lot of things in tech. I'm not sure why. That's kind of anecdotal, but to your main point, a lot of startups don't use, a lot of SMEs, because it's important to make a distinction here between the two, don't use social media. But that's not really a huge surprise when you consider that as many as 1/5 of Irish small and medium-sized companies don't actually use the web as part of their business at all. So you're right. If you're suggesting that there's a little bit of an urban bias towards social media, that's probably correct, and that's to do with connectivity, it's to do with broadband and all the stuff that we know, and mobile networks. So it is largely an urban thing, and probably mostly focused as a Dublin thing.
Is that because maybe most SME owners out there, maybe late 30s, 40s, even 50s, and connecting really is all about face-to-face, person-to-person? That's how we sell. And maybe is it because with this young generation coming up behind us, these 20-year-olds are going to change the world?
Yeah, social media is a natural extension now of your normal communications day. So most people under the age of 35 don't regard social media as something, as a separate thing. They use it as their main communications platform. So they don't really use SMS that much anymore. Instead, they use WhatsApp or Facebook direct messaging. So it's not as much of a leap to go from there to their work lives, communicating with colleagues, with potential customers, with work contacts using social media. And it's even less of a leap to talk about what they're doing, to promote their business, to even take out ads on Facebook or Twitter. It's very easy for them to do that and very kind of cost effective. They know what they're doing and it feels natural.
Conor, you're a digital marketing expert. You've been in agencies, you've been in multinationals, and now you're out there, you've the socialmedia.ie. Surely, like a dinosaur like me, I get all my business from face-to-face, and do I need to catch up?
I'm sure you're being disingenuous there, Brian. I'm sure you've got lots of followers on Twitter, and you're
I don't use them.
You're probably
I don't interact with them though.
Well, that, I suppose, is a missed opportunity, and it could be that you're getting fantastic referrals and you've got a great media profile and you've got a lot of things that are going for you, and maybe you don't, you're getting away with it, but maybe a lot of the other listeners mightn't have that media profile, might be playing the PR game as well as you do, and they're missing out on the opportunity, because that's, social media can be for them an opportunity to get some low cost marketing, get their word out there. Before you get into all this, into social networks and social media, it's really, first step for me is look at the website, because the website in most cases were built prior to 2013, so they're not mobile optimized, they're not mobile friendly, and there's no point in putting lots of water into a leaky bucket, to use that analogy. So social media is bringing traffic into a website. If the website is not mobile optimized, they're bouncing back out again, or they're not finding what they want, they're not going to inquire, they've got a bad user experience, and then they're not going to come back.
You're listening to Conor Lynch and Adrian Weckler, our two experts in social media here. And if you have any questions, get in touch with us on the Twitter hashtag #ReadyBusinessAdvice. And Adrian, back to you. B2B. I mean, what should we be doing on social media?
Well, there are a couple of things. Well, if you were to choose, if you were an SME and you were thinking of jumping into a social media platform, it's very, very hard to understand why you would look beyond Facebook for a few basic demographic reasons. So Facebook is by a large shot the biggest social network in Ireland. About 2.5 million people use it in Ireland, and over half of those people use it every single day. And it's not all kids, it's people of all ages, etc. But more importantly, from a commercialization point of view, most of the research out there shows that in terms of bang for your buck, in terms of traffic that comes directly from a social network to your own website, which then translates into a solid query or something else, Facebook is miles beyond most competitors, compared to Twitter, for example. So there was a lot of research done in the States in the States on this, and there's a company called MoveWeb, which actually measured the social networks against each other. It found that just 0.04% of mobile e-commerce traffic came from Twitter, for example, and that compares to 1.3% for Facebook. So it's in the order of 20 times as strong for Facebook as it is for the likes of Twitter.
But you don't sell on Facebook, do you?
You don't. Well, you can actually sell on Facebook. A lot of companies are starting to host. A lot of small companies will host their main web presence now on Facebook. If you look at what the Collison brothers, John and Patrick from Limerick, are doing, their big initiative for 2016 is to provide sales tools for the likes of Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest to actually transact commercial transactions in 1 or 2 clicks on social networks like Facebook. So I wouldn't say that you can't actually sell on Facebook. It's not going to match your main sales channels person to person for most SMEs, but I wouldn't dismiss it at all. One of the real questions here is, how do you actually choose which platform to concentrate on, and what kind of resources and what kind of time do you put into it? If you were choosing one, in my view, it would be Facebook.
So Conor, SMEs again, I feel a lot of people are obviously not getting in this country. I think maybe we're just not up to speed. Especially, just looking at the stats, easily 60% of SMEs outside of Dublin are not using this properly. What are the common mistakes when you're going out there consulting with companies?
I suppose the first mistake is that people won't have a plan, they won't have a strategy, and that's because they don't have the knowledge. They don't know how to put one together. And we would find this right across the board, from startups to SMEs, right to some larger brands. Other things they would do, I think, is problems they would have is looking at quantity over quality. So they're just throwing up a lot of content. It's not really well thought out. It's just and it doesn't really work because of the changes to the Facebook algorithm, which is meaning bringing reach down on Facebook posts down to zero by 1% at the moment. So Facebook reach is almost zero for free organic reach. And then we see that they're not really measuring what they're doing. They don't have they're not familiar with the tools. They're not measuring it very well. So they're not learning what's working, what isn't working, which again comes back to not really understanding their customer in the first place, not understanding creating customer personas and really understanding, where their target customers are, what they have for breakfast, which is the kind of stuff you need to know in order to target them.
So to land one on you, Bob the Builder from Bandon, what does he do?
Bob the Builder, he should have at least a one-page website. So people get a bit frightened, think, I need a website, oh my God, it's going to cost me 20 grand. So it doesn't have to cost 20 grand. You could get quite a decent website for 5 grand. You get a one-page landing page for maybe £1,000. So that's the hygiene level, is having some kind of web presence. Bob should also be looking at maybe things like skill pages. There's lots of networks now for like skill pages, for networks for people who have got skills for local communities. This will mean they will get found on Google. So a Google page, his own web page, and also basic web, basic presence on Facebook for sure, so that he might get found to get referrals. But is it something very exciting that people are going to be talking about and sharing? Bob's building. It's how can that become creative and be embedded in people's social conversations? That can be the challenge.
Adrian, it sounds like to me, there's a lot of people out there who are just not expert in this thing. It's something they've never invested any time in. Is it probably better to outsource to a specialist as opposed to doing it yourself and learn by your mistakes?
Yeah.
Or
if you don't have a clue, and if you think you need social media or online engagement in a significant way, and by the way, not all companies do. I mean, like today, for example, I went looking for a window cleaner, and for conservatory windows, it's really hard to find a cleaner who'll clean the roof windows on a conservatory. For some reason, nobody in Dublin does it. Now, I ended up Googling. Google was my main tool there. Twitter was useless. Facebook was pretty useless actually as well. So it ended up being a Google search. And then using mobile phone. Like I couldn't contact them on Snapchat, right? Or LinkedIn. So I ended up having to use my phone. So, now maybe I'm making the case for a better Facebook group of window cleaners for conservatory roof windows, in saying that. But I'm saying it's not always the modus operandi for every type of small business. It certainly is if you're in any kind of ambitious kind of B2B or especially B2C area or industry, but maybe not for everyone.
Where's the future?
The future, well, at the moment, the near future, the next 12 months, one service we haven't talked about is Snapchat, by far the fastest growing social network out there, about 700,000 users in Ireland. For under 25s, if you put a piece of video on Snapchat, the stats they've come out with, Nielsen, which is a very highly thought of analyst agency, shows that that piece of video will be 6 times more viewed by someone under 25 than if you put it on TV. If you try and advertise it on TV, people who use Snapchat use it all day, every day. And the problem is how to get on Snapchat, because the opportunities there are very, very limited if you're not in the Discover series. But Snapchat at the moment is the fastest growing one.
And Conor, the future for you, if you give one tip for SMEs listening here today, what should they be doing?
It's really looking at the various tools that are out there. Could be aware of different tools, start testing different tools, maybe get in touch with us, follow our blog on Twitter, because the tools are capturing lots and lots of data. There's huge amounts of data being created by people, consumers on all the various networks. It's a treasure trove of information, and learning how to capture that and understand that, and then use that in your marketing communications is really important. That it's very, very few have mastered that at the moment.
Is Twitter really just for celebrities and well-known people to try and get attention?
No, I wouldn't go. So the question is is it an echo chamber? I wouldn't go that far. There's definitely an element of that. I've used Twitter for years and years and years.
It's good for getting news,
and obviously. I pretty much use it every day. And there is a strong element of a mob on Twitter that just talks to each other. But it does extend beyond that. If you have a genuine news story, if a genuine piece of interesting information, if you put it on Twitter, it will actually travel, and it'll travel far and wide. So it's not just media and celebrities talking to each other, even though there's a large element there.
Any tips on that? I mean, business and Twitter, or maybe one thing we never mentioned was LinkedIn. I still don't get it. I can't get business off it.
Yeah. Well, I think what works really well for us is to connect our blog in with LinkedIn. So we share our blog posts onto LinkedIn. We then post them into relevant groups. So when we write a blog, we share it into maybe 50,000 people who are interested in digital marketing or social media in Ireland. They then, if they like the little excerpt, then they come back out to our website and they have a look around and see some more. So it's really how the two connect together is
Here's the problem with LinkedIn from my perspective. LinkedIn is primarily about broadcasting. Most people I see who go on to LinkedIn, they go on, post something and then leave, hoping that lots of people will see what they're doing. With Facebook and Twitter, that tends to be the first thing that you pick up on your phone in the morning when you reach out on your locker side table. You'll go into Facebook or you'll go into Twitter to see what's happening, to consume. With LinkedIn, it's not as much about consumption, it's more about broadcasting. And that's right there in the stats. If you look at Ipsos MRBI's most recent figures on social network usage in Ireland, the daily usage stats for LinkedIn are tiny. It's like 13% or something. Compare that to 60% for Facebook, maybe 40% for Twitter, like 60-70% for Snapchat. That's the problem with LinkedIn, is that it's good if you're looking for a new job, maybe if you want to hire somebody, if you want to look for a suitable business partner as well, it's very good. But it's not the optimal site for people who are consuming stuff that you might be putting out there. So you'd be very targeted, as Conor said. You maybe join a group or post to a group that you know are interested and are going back to consume stuff.
Yeah, from what I can see, LinkedIn, it's all recruitment people who are checking you out.
Yeah, they all want to hire you. But we just, I suppose, the listeners are probably thinking, oh my God, there's so many networks. How can I do this efficiently without taking up all my day? by actually using plugins on your blog, we actually can share from our blog into LinkedIn without even going into LinkedIn. So the plugins help you to save time, target different groups that might be interested in your blog, and that's how we get LinkedIn to work for us. Another thing that we haven't actually talked about is Instagram. So Instagram is a network that's worth mentioning. It's grown very, very fast, almost doubled in the last 6 months, up to 790,000 Irish users. That's the figures I have seen there today. And so if your business is in food, fashion, something visual, then Instagram is where a lot of people are hanging out. And then Instagram is more accessible for people in their 20s, 30s, up into 40s. So then this is another network to keep in mind, whereas Snapchat is maybe a smaller, younger, maybe younger demographic.
Gents, we've had some people sending their queries into the hashtag Ready Business Advice part of the show. So again, if you want your queries, send them in, please. First one up, Mary here from Clonakilty in Cork, actually. Cork is very popular today. She has a drapery shop down there. If I could concentrate on just one social platform as a startup, what would you recommend? Conor?
I'd say maybe if you're going to go for one, maybe go for Facebook, but integrate Instagram with it, because they're sister companies and sister brands and they work really well together.
Okay.
Drapery shop, no question, Facebook.
Adrian, another one here. Paul Kilkenny asks, how much content per day or per week should I do, and how much of a budget to spend on social media ads?
Try and do one a day. So one of the things that kills not only social media presence but blogs is erratic posting. If someone thinks that you're going to post every single day, you'd be amazed at how consistently how consistent audience you will actually build up. Try and do one per day. If you're outsourcing for a budget, that's very difficult because it depends on the business that you're in, and it depends what you want them to do. So I'm not even going to hazard a guess on that one.
And Conor, actually that outsourcing question's coming up here from a listener in Sligo. Should I hire a young gun, or should I get some kind of a digital native to look after my needs? Should we go to Conor for it?
Well, what some companies do is they come to us to guide, to develop a plan for the young gun, because the young gun is fresh out of college and probably mightn't be the person who knows strategy and the business inside out and the tone of voice and the personality and what you should be talking about and how to deal with customers. So we put all that together in a Bible, so that the young gun who might understand the networks will have that to guide them. But it's also important that the young gun maybe likes your business, likes the sector, is passionate about it, and then that passion is contagious. Whereas you can always teach somebody else afterwards networks, but you can't teach them passion.
The more I listen to you guys, I think the more bit of confidence I'm getting to the older gun. I mean, it's not idiot level stuff. I mean, there seems to be a basic amount of cop on here as to what you should do at certain times. I'm definitely going to talk to you guys afterwards. But I mean, does it take long to get up to speed?
Well, I've been doing social media for nearly 10 years, and before that, online marketing for I think 7 years prior to that. So I brought a strategy for social media to Rabo Direct like about 10 years ago, because of the emergence of blogs and discussion boards, etc. Now I'm self-taught. Like a lot of people out there are self-taught, and if they're frightened about it, I just say you can go to lynda.com, you can go to YouTube, you just go to Google, and you can find any amount of resources and videos, how-to videos, and you can teach yourself the basics.
And Conor, you said you were self-taught. How did you get into this digital game?
Well, I went to college originally and studied marketing, so I have a marketing degree, and then I went to Smurfit College and so graduated again in marketing. So I suppose unlike a lot of people in digital at the very start, I actually had studied marketing, but then I brought in the technology and digital into that. So I spotted a job opportunity about 17 years ago in IT, and I knew nothing about IT, and I hated IT from college, spreadsheets and databases. It was kind of a complete head wreck, but I could see the emergence of IT, and that's where the future was. So I went for the job, I got the job, and as I say, the rest is history. So I've been working in digital, online, internet marketing for 17 years and doing social media for about 10. So from Web 1.0, which was the original web, I got in at that stage. Then Web 2.0 was social media, and I've worked my way through that for the last 10 years. And now we're at Web 3.0, which is bringing in Internet of Things and smart devices, etc. So I suppose what I've done is I've learned the technology and learned emerging trends, and my job then has always been to take that and then translate that into business ideas and strategies and campaign ideas for clients.
So where has all this brought to you now? What are you doing now?
What's brought us very far. So I've got a team based in Temple Bar. We've got a Connector.cafe, so we've got our own cafe, digital business cafe. Connector.ie has startup clients, SME clients, government clients.
Conor mentioned the bank there, Adrian. There's a lot of grief online, isn't there? There's a lot of, I don't know, there are these muppets out there who just have to take a cut of everything. How do you react to that? How do you deal with it?
It can depend, and it depends on the type of person you are as well. There are 2 or 3 strategies for dealing with aggro and hassle, and hate would be the jargon term online. One strategy is just to ignore it, which sometimes works. The person, if they're kind of petty, they'll move on, because often when somebody's having a go at you, they're kind of looking for attention. It's quite recreational in its nature. Sometimes, on the other hand, if you actually engage with them and in a polite way, that immediately softens their cough, because they're now in what they more of a one-on-one conversation. Companies get such grief online. As soon as they engage directly, automatically the tone softens an awful lot. So that can be a very good strategy. But sometimes you'll get somebody who just really trolls for the sake of it, and in that case you can either block them, you can if it gets really bad, you can report them, but generally one of the first 2 options: either ignore or engage politely. That's what I do.
Gentlemen, thanks for that practical advice. That's our lot for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed listening to the Irish Independence Ready Business podcast show. We'll be back next week when we're looking at the whole area of the business of health and fitness. You can get more articles, information and interviews by visiting our Ready Business Hub on the independent.ie. And don't forget to tweet your startup and Ready Business questions via Twitter using the hashtag ReadyBusinessAdvice. I'm Brian Purcell. My thanks to our guests here today, Adrian Weckler and Conor Lynch. And until the next time, make sure you're a ready business.
The Irish Independent Business Podcast, in association with Vodafone. Make your business ready with Vodafone's range of mobile, fixed and cloud solutions.